how can we refute their idea of multiple gods? Because we have many Dawa channels that talk about Christianity, atheism, but we do not have any Dawa channel about Hinduism, Buddhism, or Sikh.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's many ways of dealing with this, but it depends what kind of polytheism they adhere to. But let's just stick to a kind of easy understanding of it. They say they're all gods, and all of these gods are powerful. All of these gods are unique. All of these gods are wise. All of these gods are eternal, and so on and so forth. The most easiest way of dealing with this is as follows: is basically saying to them, Can there be more than one thing if you cannot differentiate between those things? This is an argument from Al-Ghazali in his Tahafut al-Falasifa. It's quite a brilliant argument. So I want you to imagine two bananas on the table. You know you can count two bananas. Here's one banana and here's another banana. Why do you know there are two bananas? Why do you know? What is it that makes it that you could perceive two bananas on the table? Well, because
they're different.
Yes, they're in different locations on the table. There may be a different shade of yellow. There may be a different size. There may be a different position on the table, angle, and so on and so forth. Now, here's another question. If everything was completely the same about those two bananas, shape, size, look, color, feel, temperature, weight, density, location, everything, spatial, temporal location, if everything was the same about them, could you say there's two bananas?
No.
Thank you. So if they believe that God has to be powerful, unique, transcendent, knowing, and wise, and they say there's all these gods that have exactly the same attributes, then say to them, there is nothing logically in place that allows you to make a distinction between more than one. All you're doing is describing one. It's like a principle. If what's the same of A is the same of B, then A is B. So all you're describing is one thing. So you can just say to them, and if they say to you, oh, but this God is a bit different. Well, he can't be God then, because he has to have something different about him. If there's something different about him, then you've lessened his divinity in some way. You could say, oh, this God is only all powerful and wise, but this God is knowing. Do you see what's happening here, right? That's one easy way of doing it. Another way of doing it is what you study in Aqidah Tahawiyah. In the explanation of Aqidah Tahawiyah is when you talk about wills. It's called the argument of, I think it's called the argument of exclusion. And basically it's a really powerful argument. So when you conceptualize who God is, he is a divine being with a will. And his will is not restricted, meaning nothing limits God. Nothing outside of God limits his will. Nothing. If you say that, then it's not God anymore. You could go...
He's independent.
He's independent. Nothing external to God limits his will. So the argument of exclusion is as follows, and here's an example. Imagine you have a rock, and say hypothetically there were two gods, and one god wanted to, so they wanted to move the rock. There are three possible explanations. Number one of them wants to move it to the left, the other one wants to move it to the right. When that happens, then what happens? It doesn't move at all. Or one overpowers the other. So the other option is one overpowers the other. So one actually gets to move it to the right and the other one can't move it to the left. So if one overpowers the other, there's only one will in play because it's the dominant will. The previous example, if they cancel each other out, that's pointless because we know we have the universe in existence. The will has manifested itself. So they can't cancel each other out because we have something in existence, which is the universe. So the first option was they cancel each other out, which is impossible. The second option is one overpowers the other, which again shows that there's only one true will, meaning one God. Or the other option is they always agree to move the rock in the same way all the time. But when that happens, how many wills are there? There's only one will. There's only one will. And since the will has to be independent, then there's only one independent will from that perspective. Therefore, one will, one God, because the will has to be independent. So that's called the argument from exclusion. There's many, many more. But in the book called The Divine Reality, if you go to chapter, I think it's chapter 10. Chapter 10 talks about, it's called divine singularity. It goes through various arguments why Allah is one. A powerful argument in that chapter. You could download this from the Sapience Institute
Your
website.
book is not available in Pakistan.
It is. If you go to sapienseinstitute.org/books, Download it for free, sister.
Oh, all right. I can download. Okay.
So when you down, and plus it's getting translated into Urdu. I had a call with some of the brothers, I think a few days ago. It's coming
Yes.
out in Urdu as well, inshallah.
Yes, it's been
And
done in Urdu.
all thanks to Adnan, by the way. He facilitated that.
No, all thanks to Allah. What are you talking
Yeah,
about?
well, thanks to you and all thanks to Allah. That's what I meant. Yeah, good. Jazakallah khair. So I meant to say all credit goes to Adnan.
No, it doesn't. It goes to the brothers who have done it. I haven't done
Mashallah,
nothing.
mashallah.
Yeah.
Well, you facilitate. May Allah bless you. But listen, sister. So the other thing is another powerful argument is called the argument from Revelation. The argument from Revelation is very simple. You just show to them, Allah says, God says God is one, and God knows Himself more than anyone else, and Allah has revealed that in the Quran, and the Quran is true. And if you prove them in the Quran to be true, what does Allah say? Qul huwallahu ahad. Allah is the uniquely one. Khalas. That's the easy way of doing it. Another way is referring to the famous ayah in the Quran that if there were more than one deity, the whole kind of cosmos would be in chaos. That's another very powerful argument as well. And there are two primary meanings to that verse. But this is enough for you now. If you go to the chapter, read it, you get all the references and all the conceptualization in there for you to understand. Okay, sister?
Yes, thank you so much for answering.